Greetings and salutations everyone, I'm Mac. This is the usual time of the year, or the week. It's when new identities come online, but also, yeah, you can see
이 별무리 속에 데려다 드릴 수는 없어도 그러나 별빛으로 만들어 드릴 수는 있답니다.
As you can see, I've saved up the shards for when the Forced actually becomes available.
그래, 우선 연구팀에 합류한 걸 환영한다고 해두지. 이 좀 받아. 오늘 내기는 내가 져서 모두에게 커피를 사야 하거든.
And now we just look at the extract page because we do want to see what these new identities are a bit like. So, House of Spiders Forced. Butcher, Ribs, Iron Maiden, exclusive skill. Gain clash power for every type of negative effect. Every type of negative effect on the target to a maximum of 2. That's kind of ridiculous. So that becomes 11. 13, but also gain final power for bleed on the target? This is a 16 rolling skill 1. Inflict bleed count, defense level down next turn, and gain defense level up next turn. Self-Unbound Flow exclusive skill. 3+4, final power for every bleed on the target, maximum of 3. 3 offense level versus 1 offense level. She's actually doing better in her tank stance for this one. Changing the clash power for extra damage. I don't know, I always think of characters in terms of their clashing potential, to be honest. Fasha Hungers, Iron Maiden skill. Clash power +1 for every type of negative effect on the target to a maximum of 2. Final power +1 for every bleed on the target. At 10 plus corpus ingredients, consume 5 corpus ingredient to gain the following. Clash power +1, and the final skill becomes unbreakable. I was wondering about this. Unfortunately, corpus ingredient, she loses a bit of it, but there's a passive that we'll have to take into account for this, and let's look at what the other thing says. Time for your meal, Fascia. Self-Unbound Flow exclusive skill. 10% damage for every negative effect, final power for every bleed. At 10 plus ingredients, consume 5 ingredients to gain 1 clash power and convert the final coin to unbreakable. She feels like a secret 2-star ID because I'm not seeing any coin power, but maybe that's hidden somewhere else. And this is consume 5 to guarantee 4, but because it's charged, she goes down by 1 each turn. It interacts the same way as normal charge does to effects that raise or reduce charge potency and count. Skill 3, Repressed Flesh. This is actually the name of an attack in Library of Ruina. You see the puppets use it, but that's a blunt skill and this is a slash skill, so it's not quite the same thing. Final power +1 for every bleed on the target. At 10 corpus ingredients, consume 20 corpus ingredients to gain the following. Final power and extra damage for every corpus ingredient consumed. So she basically loses all of it. On hit, inflict a bleed, inflict a bind, inflicted damage down. Deal extra damage for every negative effect on the target, but most of it is coming out of this skill. Liberation of the Repressed Flesh. Deal extra damage for every excess attack weight beyond the number of actual targets. At 10 plus corpus ingredient, consume up to 20 corpus ingredient and gain the following. Final power +2. Extra damage for every corpus ingredient consumed. At 3 or 5 corpus ingredient, gain attack weight. But this is its potency, not its count. Convert all coins to unbreakables. I mean, even just gaining a little bit of attack weight on this skill would probably be pretty cool. Think about Don Quixote's Yearning Mercala. Oh yeah. Gain slash damage up next turn, inflict damage down, inflict bind next turn, gain haste. So basically it adds a bunch of self buffs to her hits. Inflict 1 bleed count. Exhibition arrangements. Clash Bull Guard. Clash Win, inflict 2 bleed count. On Clash Win, deal pierce damage equal to bleed potency on the attacker. Self-Unbound Flow. Gain assist defense. Inflict bind, gain haste. Her assist... it's an evade skill, so it's nice. No acts of vandalism allowed. Clash Bull counter. Self-Unbound Flow exclusive, assist defense exclusive skill. 10% damage for every type of negative effect on the target. It's interesting that it's forced who's getting this assist defense. But also kind of dumb that this is where she gets her actual coin power. At 10 plus corpus ingredient count, consume 5 to gain clash power and an unbreakable coin. So she has some bleed count on everything, but not nearly as much as we'd need to actually stabilize bleed count. Okay, passives. Upon entering the encounter for the first time, gain number of ring allies on the field times 2 corpus ingredients to a maximum of 10. If skill end, if the skill deals HP or shield damage, gain 5 corpus ingredients. So that's where it stabilizes. At 10 plus, consume 5, but we're going to gain 5. Which means that plus 4 is actually going to start adding up. Downside is the skill 1 is going to slightly fall down. If target is killed, gain more corpus ingredients. Gain the potency every time consuming 10 cumulative count. If this effect brings corpus ingredient potency to 2 or higher, gain artwork. Base power plus 1. If unit has bleed or unique bleed, deal extra damage. Inflict 1 more bleed potency and count. Okay, that's a bit more helpful. And then gain a second base power. Base attack skills and Clash Bull counter skills count as skills that gain charge. So that's very important for her use in full charge teams. Upon entering the encounter, gain Iron Maiden. If you have artwork Fascia, lose Iron Maiden. Gain Self-Unbound Flow. So yeah, the moment you hit 2... So basically you aren't going to hang on to this, is what we're saying. She's going to very quickly reach 2... Roll this skill twice, or this skill once alongside another skill. Yeah, she's probably going to enter her unleashed form about 3 turns in, but that's not important. Double the amount of speed, clash power, damage buff gained from Somatic Frisian Melody. On hit. If the attack skill inflicts a negative effect, heal 4 SP. If this unit's SP is at max, gain slash damage when healing SP. When hit, allies that equip defense skills inflict 4 bleed on the attacker twice per turn. If there's already bleed, inflict 2 bleed count. I don't see anything about the melody, so maybe it's applied by her mentor. Min and max speed plus 1. Alright, House of Spiders Honglu, what do you have to talk about? Anatomize. Deal extra damage for every type of negative effect. Final power +1 for every bleed on the target. 4 bleed. 2 defense level down, 2 defense level up. My, how you love the flesh and blood. Indiscriminate, unclashable. This does not trigger defense skills. It cannot be reused. Its attack does not hit. So apply 6 offense level to target. It honestly sounds like a completely useless skill until you read that part and you think, okay, what's he cooking with this? Oh, do you have anything interesting in your sanity? You do not. Just double checking. Do you have anything interesting in your sanity? No. Skill 2, gather ingredient, blood-bathed object. Final power for every bleed on the target. 10 plus corpus ingredient, consume some of it to gain the following. Clash power and an unbreakable coin. Inflict 2 bleed count, inflict 1 bleed, gain a haste. 4 corpus ingredient count. If target has 5 types of negative effects, art installation number 3, improvised ribcage next turn against the target. Oh wait, no, this turn, only once per turn. But it does give corpus ingredients, doesn't it? This skill does not trigger defense skills. Consume some corpus ingredient, inflict 2 bleed, deal 10% damage for every type of negative effect on the target, deal SP damage, heal SP on self, inflict corpus theatre. When this unit gains bleed from enemy attack skills, gain 1 of the following effects next turn, lose a stack of this effect. Gain bleed potency, bind, or defense level down. Gain next turn means that it's also going to give out 1 bleed count, which is nice, but it's also going to help him set up for more corpus ingredients reuses, I guess. Wrong key. Tibia's melody. Anatomization of the anatomized by the anatomized. Deal 30% damage for every excess attack weight beyond actual targets. Final power for every 4 bleed on the main target. At 10 plus corpus ingredient, consume up to 20 and gain the following. Final power, damage, and gain some attack weight for your corpus ingredient potency. And gain some unbreakable coins. Everything becomes unbreakable. Inflict 4 bleed, inflict a blind, inflict damage down, gain haste and slash damage up, inflict 1 bleed count. Oh boy, these are really pathetic bleed count numbers. Ooh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Closing time. Installation art number 1. Your flesh and bones is the gallery seats. Deal 30% damage for every excess attack weight beyond actual targets. When just one target, deal 100% additional damage. At 10 plus corpus ingredient, consume up to 20 to gain the following. Final power, extra damage, corpus ingredient. For all identities in the ring faction, heal SP and apply somatic friction inspired melody. Unbreakable coin, inflict bleed, inflict bind and haste, inflict damage down and slash, inflict bleed count, inflict burn, and corpus theatre. 5 burn. They really are neglecting the burn this season. Evade, curating the exhibition. Gain assist defense, inflict bind and gain haste. Everything once per turn. Please, vandalism is prohibited. Clashable counter, assist defense exclusive skill. Deal 10% damage for every negative effect on the target, coin power for every bleed. 10 plus corpus ingredient, consume 5 to gain the following. Clash power and unbreakable coin. Kind of breaks even. Inflict bleed count and inflict bleed. I'd have preferred the other way around, to be honest. Passive, and this is the stuff about Corpus Ingredient. When entering the encounter for the first time, gain number of ring allies, Corpus Ingredient. If a skill deals HP or shield damage, gain Corpus Ingredients. If the target is killed, gain 3 additional Corpus Ingredient. Gain Corpus Ingredient every time this unit consumes 10 cumulative Corpus Ingredients. If brought to 2 or higher in potency, gain Tibia. Base power, bonus damage, bleed potency and count. Base power, base power. Base attack skills and clashable counters count as skills that gain charge count. Upon entering the encounter for the first time, gain Viewing the Tableau. When a ring faction ally uses a skill, lose 1 stack once per turn per identity. If Apprentice Force is on the field, then he gains protection. If this unit does not have Viewing the Tableau, replace one of its base skills with Closing Time. At the next turn start, once per encounter, prioritize skill on the leftmost bottom row on the dashboard. If the replace skill becomes inaccessible due to being replaced by a different skill, activate the effect again. So if you have to use your leftmost slot for an ego or a defense skill, then it will very kindly move it 1 to the right. Handy. If this unit was staggered for the first time in this encounter, recover from stagger. I wish we could tell how many stagger thresholds he has. For Lust. Before the House of Spiders Ring Apprentice Force uses skill 3, except skill ego skill, I don't quite get that. House of Spiders Hong Lu will use his skill 1 bonus on Forced. So she gains a 6 offense level in the turn she uses her skill 3, that's nice. If the attack skill inflicts a negative effect, heal 4 SP at attack end, 3 times per turn. Does he have any skills that don't? Inflict a bleed count? Inflict a burn? This doesn't inflict status effects actually. And it only changes the very last coin to unbreakable, so I guess the skill 2 might fall apart. And this doesn't have unbreakable coins. Okay, I've thought it over. If this unit's SP is at max, gain slash damage up next turn instead. Why is he Blunt Fatal? Inflict 2 offense level down and bleed count next turn on 1 enemy with the fastest speed. 3 times resonance. That's actually new. We haven't had support passives that actively target enemies. They've always been giving bonuses to our allies, which suggests sometimes happen to be inflict extra penalties on an opponent when you attack them, but no, this is the first one to directly take on the opponent. Anyway. It's late. Inflict charge count and rupture. At 3 charge potency, gain coin power. At 3 charge potency, gain coin power. At 10 charge count, consume 5 charge count to gain base power. Gain 3 charge, gain plus charge count to maximum of 3. Inflict 2 rupture. Inflict a photoelectricity. Gain high voltage exoskeleton, but only 1 stack. Oh. Gain 2 charge count and gain 5 aggro. That's nice. Gain charge every time consuming 10 cumulative charge count. Charge barrier this unit gains is converted to high voltage exoskeleton. which is this, which is basically charge barrier but with cool things are tied to it, I guess. At 3 charge on self, gain min and max speed. When this unit takes damage that brings its HP down to 0, gain self charge equal to charge on self times 3 plus 5 to a maximum of 20. Self charge keeps him alive. This unit's HP cannot drop below 1 before this effect expires, but attack end of skills that hit this unit loses 1 stack. At attack end, lose 3 stacks. At turn end, lose 5 stacks. So at best, if he does absolutely nothing and isn't targeted by anything, then he lasts for 4 turns. But it's far less if he has to actually use attacks. If there are 3 or more allies wearing Ego Gear, all relevant allies gain offense level. At 12 or less charge count when consuming charge count due to AEDD. On heads hit, consume a 4 shield or HP to activate the Ego passive. This only triggers when the unit is at 25% health or more. Three defensive level looks kind of fun. Alright, wait, not yet. Panic effects does not act. Increase after winning a clash. Increase by 10 after defeating an enemy. Yeah, these are all the standards. So if we uptie, his speed goes from 4 to 6 to 5 to 6. That's actually really good. I should see if I can lock him into any of my Luxcavations. At 5 plus charge count, gain clash power. So we still need to get to the charge potency for the coin power, but his charge count can be handy. Gain 2 charge count, gain 2 charge count. At 3 plus charge, coin power plus 1. At 3 plus charge, convert the final coin into unbreakable. 10 plus charge, consume charge count to gain base power. Okay, I think I misread that, or didn't read it. Photoelectricity. So he goes fast and sticks down that photoelectricity at charge plus 1 to a maximum of 4, so he still gets max potency at 3 potency, but now it's worth more. Combat passive, Gloom Envy. At combat start, gain 5 charge count but once per encounter. At more than 12 charge count, consume excess charge count up to 8, apply half of that on an ally. Minimum 1, rounded down. Prioritize the ally with the lowest charge count among allies with earlier order deployment. If there are no allies that are earlier than this unit, or we have 3 plus charge, deactivate the effect. So basically this is meant to supercharge, it's meant to speed up his consumption of charge very quickly. At Gloom or Envy Resin. I don't like the ones that have resonance requirements on top of Sin count, because it means it can take a while for it to actually activate in the short Luxcavation battles. But anyway, at those resonances, apply 2 charge count next turn on allies with early deployment. Apply on higher resonance between allies in deployment order. At 3 plus charge, apply 4 charge count on allies instead. If no one is earlier, gain 4 charge count instead. Oh man, I'm tired. I'll do this final uptie tomorrow and stitch it into the episode, sorry. I do kinda want to use him though. I haven't even used his lob core lamp yet. But anyhow, until next time guys, take care, I'll see you all around.
이상씨, 열이는 좋지만
시설 복구는 완료되었지만 당장 연구를 재개할 수는 없을 거야. 누군가를 이끈다는 건 고통스러운 일이야. 손발도 안 맞는 자들과 함께 일하는 건 그럴 수 있다고 생각하지만 원치도 않을 때 모두의 앞에 떠밀려지는 건 불쾌해서 말이지. 누군가를 이끈다는 건 고통스러운 일이야. 손발도 안 맞는 자들과 함께 일하는 건 그럴 수 있다고 생각하지만 원치도 않을 때 모두의 앞에 떠밀려지는 건 불쾌해서 말이지.
Alright, let's wrap this up, shall we? So, Forced Ardor Blossom Star. 4 plus 8. 2 coins. Final power plus 1 for every 10 burn. Gain burn and burn count. Hopefully it gains the burn count afterwards. But I somehow doubt it. At 15 plus burn on self, gain wrath damage up next turn, once per turn. Inflict a burn, current coin attacking. At 15 plus burn on self, inflict embers to all targets. Potency of 3, count of 6. If this unit has burn, lose embers count when hit by a skill that inflicts burn. If this unit does not have burn, reset embers count to 6 when hit, independent of skills that do inflict burn. At 0 embers count, activate one of the following effects. Activate burn once on self, lose a burn count. Lose embers potency. If this unit has 1 plus remaining embers potency, reset embers count to 6. It sounds most useful if you've got teams with a lot of burn count. Actually no, it sounds more like it's meant to be replacing Utis's magic bullet burn effects. The Dark Flame, but at the cost of, well, no elemental damage, so you'd have to make sure that you're actually inflicting enough burn potency and still keeping the count going. Okay, for Corrosion, Ardor Blossom Star, 5 attack weight. Yeah, this is basically Ardor Blossom Star. The downside is that it does not have much in the way of... It is not a clashing ego, it is going to struggle. It's rolling a 16, there are skill 3s that can outroll it. Final power plus 1 for every 10 burn on all targets, plus burn on self. Gain 10 burn and burn count, at 25 plus burn on self, gain 2 wrath damage up. If missing 50% or more HP, heal 5 SP for every burn on self, inflict burn count, inflict burn, randomly inflict embers between targets, excluding targets that have max embers potency. Okay, so thread spin to get the passive. Immediately after using the ego skill, for every 10 burn on self, increase burn potency inflicted on enemies with this unit's base attack skill effects and coin effects. Maximum of 2 excludes unique burn. When this unit uses Absolute Blossom Star Max Attunement, this unit does not die at skill's attack end, instead heal 40% HP and 2 damage up. Next turn. But only once per encounter. Why did I wait until evening the next day to do this? Okay, raise our base power to 10, that's kind of pathetic. I guess it does outroll a skill 3. On hit, inflict burn equal to wrath resonance divided by 2, max 3 rounded down. The thing is, Forced has particularly bad high ceiling ego. I don't feel like throwing away her HE, even if it wasn't already tied for all the best healing and support ego. Inflict burn equal to wrath resonance divided by 2, round it down. 1 ember on all target. Ah, okay, so... So you'd have to spam it if you really wanted to stick her embers up. And 17 minus 4. So it raises the base power there. Inflict burn equal to wrath resonance, etc, etc. It feels like she needs her skill... Wait, this raises the coin power, so it rolls a 20. Inflict burn equal to burn count, but it's still only 1 embers on her targets. 17 minus 3, so they actually lower the coin power here. Randomly inflict 6 embers between targets. Okay, yeah, I was feeling this. This might actually be a skill that we need to trigger the corrosion on a lot. And I don't really feel like throwing more force shards away when we need to save up for her ID next week. But there is one thing I was wondering. On heads hit with a Lust Affinity skill, inflict a burn on the target 6 times per turn. This could make use of it. Deal extra damage for type of negative effect on the target. Yeah, so she can actually make some use out of her burn ego finally. The most important thing, Gregor. Uptie story. Let's do this. Increases maximum speed, so he's actually rolling very nicely. High voltage current. 4... Yeah, this unlocks his skill 3. Gain exoskeleton equal to charge. At combat start. Very nice. Stack times 5 shield. If this unit loses stack times 5 shield, lose a stack. Gain charge count equal to stack. Both high voltage exoskeleton and shield gain from the effect expire. At 3+ charge, activate a maximum output ultra high voltage discharge, but only once per turn. So even if he has the charge potency, he's eventually going to have to rely on this skill. At 3+ charge, gain coin power and convert the coin into an unbreakable coin. Gain 2 coin power at 10+ charge count. Gain a charge count. Inflict rupture and rupture count. Inflict photoelectricity. More at high charge count. Inflict charge sting equal to charge next turn, maximum of 3. At 5+ charge, inflict charge sting this turn and next turn. Maximum output high ultra voltage current discharge. At 10+ charge count, consume charge count to gain base power and coin power. I'm a little bit curious. 1 coin power, 2 coin power. So that's 3 coin power on this. That's a 7, 21, 25 at full power. That becomes a 7, that becomes a 5. So it becomes 26. I think that's right. Inflict rupture count, inflict rupture, inflict photoelectricity, and charge sting equal to charge. And inflict it this turn and next turn. At 5+ charge. I guess they expect if you get to that point, then you should be able to eat through at least 1 charge sting before his turn ends. Especially with how he's moving at 5 to 7 haste. Upgrade skills. Gain coin power on the skill 1. Gain coin power on the skill 2. Wait a minute. 4 plus 4. 4 plus 4. His skill 3 rolls the same as his skill 2. I don't know what I think about that. Support passive, 4 times envy resonance, turn end. 2 allies with earliest deployment order heal HP equal to sum of charge count and unite charge consumed by each of their skills, respectively, but only to a maximum of 10.
구조 분석기 가동. 작동 확인. 이 구조를 잘 기억해두라고. 모노리스 룰렛에서 꽝에 걸리면 내가 이렇게 바뀔 수도 있으니까. 취약점은 잘 체크해뒀다가 한 번에 처리해줘. 알겠지?
So, you've had handled any abnormality management work? No, sir, I haven't been assigned anything yet. That's what researcher Yisang. Ah, yes, that's what researcher Yisang told me the other day. I see. Here, take this. Call it a tradition of sorts. In our team, the individual who has made the most aggressive projection of the day's expected yield buys coffee for everyone in the team. Amending in the spirit of accuracy, it is the individual who has made the most far-fetched projection of today's expected yield. I'd rather not argue over semantics when we're effectively saying the same thing. I sense an ulterior motive on your part to obscure the overwhelming margin of error in your calculations. Take the cup already. My hand's starting to burn. Oh, sorry. In the dim hallway, a coffee vending machine stands out with its conspicuous glow among flickering lights. The child and the other children, his teammates, are gathered around the coffee machine, each holding a cup as they always do during late night overtime. Tonight there are 4 of them, with the newly assigned researcher joining the circle. Miss Force, perhaps you would want to refrain from poking or provoking our team leader so excessively. You are well aware, were it not for the 3 procedural errors that have occurred earlier this day, the team leader's calculations would have aligned ideally. Oh, wait. It was me, wasn't it? The work I did during my training today. You're not going to take the cup. The child casually pressed the coffee into the novice researcher's hands, preemptively stifling the newcomer's apology before it even escaped his lips, then lit up another cigarette. Another uncontrollable variable, I suppose. I normally don't factor in mistakes into my calculations regarding projects of this nature. It's my blind spot these two often exploit to outmaneuver me in our wages. I'm sorry. Not really something that warrants your apology, is it? The child took a sip of coffee and studied the newcomer with a calm expression. That composed gaze stirred a faint hope in the novice researcher that the research team chief might offer something encouraging, perhaps a remark or two about how everyone has to start somewhere and that mistakes are simply part of the journey. However, watch this coffee machine be some aberration of well cheers and it's going to vanish the novice. Whether or not you're a natural born genius is hardly a variable within your control. The fault lies with me for expecting the rest of humanity to perform at my level. Oh, I see. The newcomer could only stand there stunned into silence. There was not a trace of arrogance in the child's tone. The child's words were delivered so matter-of-factly, as though he were stating some of the most obvious common-sense facts about the world. Pray understand, as surely you have perceived, no ill intent resides in his speech. Did it sound as though I were being spiteful? Always. I suppose I'll try to be more mindful of that. If I can be bothered to, that is. The child smacked his lips and took another sip from the paper cup. The rest of the team had already heard him say that well over 30 times by now. Still, they didn't bother pointing it out. They knew, after all, he was not someone who would change simply because someone else suddenly decided to broach the subject of his attitude. Which is why they dismissed the child's fleeting introspection with little more than a quiet scoff and decided to move on. They knew the child could leave a rather unpleasant impression. But they also knew It only takes a brief time for people to realize that he is, in fact, a man with a heart of gold. And that if for anyone to hear about the past he'd had to live through, the unpleasant first impression would melt into sympathy and a quiet wish for his peace of mind. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry! A few days later, the familiar warning siren rang out, followed by the sound of hurried footsteps racing through the research team's hallway. No need to be so harsh on yourself. Confusing a managerial work with another has happened 3 or 4 times, I'd say, since the establishment of the LCD department. As a point of fact, however, the researchers responsible for those mistakes are no longer with us in this department. While the child and his teammates and ego skiers dispatched the Pekatula one by one, the novice researcher could only cower behind them, whether due to inexperience with his newly assigned ego gear or from sheer panic. Miss Force, the most rational solution would be for me to handle the Pekatulum array. Then I leave it to you. It tends to lunge and charge without warning. You'll want to make sure it doesn't reach your junior. There shall be no such concern. I'm sorry. No, this isn't the time to be saying that. Good. Glad to see you recognize that. You've got time for apologies. Use it to observe and learn from your seniors. Don't trouble yourself with what I am doing. It is, in any event, a caliber not easily obtained by ordinary minds such as yourself. I promise, once this is over, I'll focus on analyzing ego and do better. This time I'll learn to carry my own weight. Others will be carrying your body weight if you keep speaking as though you are leaving your last words. Chief Gregor, are you not yet finished? Almost done here. That statement has now been repeated 3 times. It's growing increasingly unreliable. Current damage rate stands at 23%. Your gear won't hold long. You're overstating the danger. The previous durability test remained within acceptable parameters up to 57%, didn't it? And around 41% I believe the self-repair mechanism will activate. That test was conducted under controlled laboratory conditions. Its reliability is questionable, which is why I'm out here engaging myself with the task of obtaining real combat data. Though Pekatula seldom manage to breach containment by themselves, the interference and influence of other abnormalities or distortion make it a rather frequent affair. And on such days, the child busies himself gathering fresh data for his research. The terminus of traits that could not even become distortions, much less effervescing an ego of their own. Textual description alone proved sufficient to connect the dots during Class 1 Pekatula observation. But from Class 3 onward, would you not agree that the entities appear rather anomalous? The self should have been completely lost, leaving only the manifestation of sins. One can't help but ask what manner of sinful life could possibly give rise to monsters such as these. It is mere byproducts too. Set aside your philosophical musings and lend us your aid first. Right, 91%. At any rate, imagine I'll soon arrive at the answer through my own inquiry. You can revisit the subject then. Might you be arranging another experiment that erodes your own life in the process? The deceased employee's corpse has been collected and transported to a designated site within the research facility. If my life is concluded as nothing more than so tedious a line in a death report, I would much rather leave behind a corpus of data bearing my name. Team leader, someday I'll develop the same conviction as you. Pay no heed to such words, you have scarcely donned that white coat for long. Already will you make of it a burial shroud. I have no wish to be seen in the death report of my junior. He took the words right out of my mouth, he's saying, don't think I haven't noticed you walking a fine line between fearlessness and foolishness, especially with those attunement level experiments. If anyone wishes to avoid receiving death reports, it would be me. Ordinary minds should remain within their proper limits. Is that understood? Damage rate is at 43%. Fine. The scanner soon chimed with an alert. The child rose to his feet, dusting his knees as he cast his eyes upon swarms of Pekatools still surging through the hallway. Sparks of electric current crackled along his shoulders. As always, this sort of a discussion is to be kept within the team. I trust you'll keep your mouths shut about it in front of others. For all the rotten reputation surrounding the child as a team leader, his team members readily accept him as their chief researcher for 2 reasons. The first is that he's no empty talker. He is, undeniably, a real genius. And the second is that I only allow myself to say these things to you because you're my team. Beneath that frosty veneer, he is someone who cares more deeply for his team than anyone realizes. Alright, 21 minutes is actually quite a bit of time, isn't it? Okay, and finally, on you steal extra... Is that a... That can't be a coin power bone. No. It matches up with the... it looks like it because of the green background. Deal extra damage for every charge on self. Gain extra effects based on your charge. So it goes from coin power 1 to coin power 2. Clash power for every 5 charge count on self at less than 10, gain 2 charge count. But this happens before this. On use, deal extra damage for every charge on self. Gain more charge, gain more coin power for more charge. Consume 5 charge count to gain base power at 10 plus charge count. Gain 5 charge count, gain up to 5 charge. Inflict photoelectricity, gain base power for his skill 3. Okay, that means it does at last do a little bit more than his skill 2. Gain coin power for excess charge. Gain more charge count. Right, so I just had to check, it's not in there at the moment. This plus 2 charge is new. Inflict rupture and rupture count, inflict photoelectricity, inflict more photoelectricity, inflict charge string, inflict it the next turn as well. Oh, okay, so now it's, they raised the cap here. And how much, they raised the max, but not how much it generates. So at 5 plus charge, inflict charge sting this turn and next turn to 5. Gain base power on his advanced skill 3. Deal extra damage for all the attack weight beyond number of targets or parts. Gain coin power at high charge. Guess I don't care that much. Gain envy on his guard skill. Gain 2 high voltage exoskeleton at combat start, but only once per turn. Gain coin power equal to charge on self. Take the lead or provide a support. Gain 10 charge count, once per encounter. Versus 5 charge count. Okay, so that's nice. At 12 plus, consume up to 8 and apply half of charge count consumed to an ally. Rounded up. But it's all rounded down here. Okay. At 2 plus, Gloom or Envy. Apply charge on next turn on allies with earliest order. Higher resonance, -1 allies. In deployment order, to a maximum of 3. At 3 plus charge, apply 4 charge count instead. If there are no allies with early deployment, then this unit gain 4 charge count instead. And its support passive is to give it out to 3 allies. Okay. And I really need to sleep. So I guess until next time, guys, take care. I'll see you all around.
집에 돌아가긴 글른 것 같으니 이리 잠깐 오지 않겠나? 대신이라긴 못하지만 재미있는 걸 보여주지. 이번에 다른 부서에서 정기 검진을 온다는데 말이지.